Why South Sudan? An Every Village podcast where we answer questions about the world's youngest nation. The question of the day is every village still drilling water wells? Hey everyone, this is Tianna Johnston, the host of this podcast called Why South Sudan? So we like to talk about many things about South Sudan and every village, but I thought today we would talk all things water. So the reason that I wanted to talk about this question specifically and with this specific person is because he is the water master, Brad Beless. Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here, as always.
Has anyone called you the water master before?
No. First time.
There you go. I think last time I introduced you as Brother Brad, but now you're the water master.
All right. Many titles.
Many titles. Okay, so the reason I wanted to talk about this one is because I know the SWC program, that's a little plug for anyone that you may be asking, what is the SWC? Go back to our old podcast that we had Brad on as he spoke about the SWC program. But that one, with this new program that we've initiated, it does actually more focus on water repairs. And so I thought, let's talk about drilling too. So I said, hey, let's have Brad back on. And he said yes. So here we are.
All right. Should I answer your question?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. The answer to your question is yes. We are still drilling.
And the podcast is over. No, just
Next
kidding.
question.
Yes. So so I guess even probably bring back, let's talk through the history of every village, because there was a time that we were only drilling.
Mm-hmm.
How, do you know when or how long or how many we did?
Yeah, I think our first drilling was in 2009. That might be off plus or minus a year, but around there. And really back in 2011, 12 through 14 and 15, up until I think 2016 and 17, we were drilling a lot, especially those last few years where that was our main focus on the water side. And we got to the point where we were drilling about 30 or 40 wells a year, which was a lot for us. But that's when kind of as I was in South Sudan at that time and realizing the importance of maintaining and taking care of water wells, not only that we drilled, but already the existing water wells in the areas was a big deal. So that's where we started to shift, was in 2017.
Mm-hmm. Do you know, so because as you said, there were water wells from other people, or was it just purely government, or was it such, like organizations going in and drilling? Do you know?
Yeah, I think it was mostly a lot of organizations, and I don't know all the history, but back when South Sudan was officially recognized and gained its independence in 2011, there was a big push for drilling. There was a lot of recognition, and this was also kind of at the peak of just general excitement for water drilling and water access. And so I think from the very sparse data that we have publicly available for how many water wells, I think in South Sudan, there was something around between 10 and 11,000 water wells.
Wow.
That have been drilled throughout South Sudan. And that sounds like a lot, but each water well can only service about 300 to at the most 500 people. And so when you consider a population size, it's not enough.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, okay, that doesn't add up at all.
Yeah. It seems like, you have a water well, it can serve entire communities. Well, not with, really the limiting factor is actually the way that the water is pumped out of the ground. So you dig the hole, which is the water well, and then it's brought out of the ground by a hand pump. And for us, and mostly in South Sudan, it's a hand pump called the India Mark II. And that can only pump so much water. It only has a specific flow rate. And so that's what limits the amount of people it can serve, because you can only physically pump so much water out of the well. And from that water, you can only support 300 to 500 people at most.
Oh, wow. So interesting.
Yep.
Huh. So when, again, I know I kind of mentioned about the SWC, and kind of that is, would you say that is our main focus right now?
Yeah, it's definitely the most significant, it's the largest effort on our water side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so in 2017 and 18, we paused our drilling, recognizing that we really needed to figure out how to do the maintenance and repair side adequately. And so that was the big focus for the next 5 years or so. And then once we got that SWC program up and running, there's still the recognition that there's a lot of communities who continue to not have access to clean water, to safe water, and so we wanted to revisit how we can be involved in the drilling of new water wells. So that's where we are today, and we're taking a somewhat slow approach. And the goal typically is about 10 new water wells a year. A few years back, we acquired a drilling rig and all the other associated equipment that we would need to do drilling. And so this is actually the first time we would be drilling what I would say in-house with our own equipment and our own crews, because even in the past we contracted that work out to a drilling business. And so we've done one successful drilling season of 10 water wells with our equipment and with our crew, and we're excited to continue that.
That's so great. Well, I guess the benefit of us having our own drilling rig is that it cut cost from, because do you know how much it was before to how much it is now?
Yeah, that's a great question. Drilling is not cheap. It's quite capital intensive. And so typically our contracted drilling would be about $10,000 per well. It depends on which location we are, but I would say that would be the average. And the hopes is that we can reduce cost a little bit with having our own equipment and doing it in-house. And it could get down to, probably our hope is $7,000, but that's still quite expensive.
That is.
Cost per well, especially if you can compare it to the $200 it takes to repair a well. It's not cheap, but like I said, it's an important endeavor despite the high cost, because it's taking instances where communities might not have access at all to safe water, or in other circumstances, a community might have some access. You could call it limited access, where either they're having to walk a long way for water, or they're in a scenario where there's a water well nearby, but it's overcrowded. So it's pushing that limit of 500 people, and that can be just as bad because there's overcrowding, there's long queues and lines for pumping water, and that can lead to arguing and fights between different communities saying, this is ours, you guys figure out your own situation. And so even if there is water wells within the area, still meeting that kind of per person criteria or basic access is important.
I think I just just had an aha moment just as you were speaking, in reference to one, I mean, the blessing of being able to invest in South Sudan in this way and bless people with access to safe water, but also that it's not just like, hey, we just drilled a well, it feels really good, pat ourselves on the back, to this donor, this supporter that's decided to fund it, but that they also get to then also support the maintenance of it. That they get to see that this well isn't just going to be broken down within 6 months to a year, and just like, well, it felt good for that little bit of time,
Yeah, for sure. And that kind of goes back to what we talked a lot about in the SWC episode, where it was important for us to consider the entire water system. And water supply, for example, the drilling of new water wells, is a part of that system. It's still a key component of a water system. So you have to have access to water for the system to work well. And so when we were doing the SWC, we kind of took a pause on that supply because we recognized the repair and maintenance was so broken. But now that that's a part of a program that we're doing that's working well and continuing to improve, we wanted to revisit the actual supply part of the system.
Mm-hmm. It's so good because I mean it goes hand in hand. Like it's a broken system if we only do one or the other. You know, like that's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that just gave me, that was great.
Yeah, and by drilling new wells, we're creating new agreements, new customers for the SWC, and so it all kind of feeds into each other.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, I guess, okay, we could talk even about some facts about water wells.
Sure.
Because I know I get this wrong often.
Yeah, and I mean, we could talk even about kind of the numbers of who has access in South Sudan.
Yeah, let's do it.
I did a little research. So the main place to get data for water access is the World Health Organization, or WHO, and they have an online data source that you can go to. And so I was looking at that in preparation of where South Sudan is. And for rural South Sudan, the area that we focus, so not talking about urban, but more of the rural side, it has that 33% of the rural population has basic access to water. And that means basically a water well with a hand pump within 30 minutes round trip. So it takes, 10 minutes to go, 10 minutes to gather the water, and 10 minutes to come back. And so it says 33% have that basic access to drinking water. And then after that, there's what they call limited access. And that's where they're getting water from a water well with the hand pump, but it's beyond the either 500 person per water well or beyond the 30 minutes it takes to round trip go and come back. And then in addition to that, there's unimproved or surface water collection, which is certainly less than ideal. At that point, you're not calling it safe. It's unimproved. And so about 25% of South Sudan has only access to unimproved or surface. And in terms of where that stands in the world, it's, I think, third to the last.
Wow.
In terms of basic access to safe drinking water.
Holy smokes. Mm-hmm. We actually, I feel like recently we got a photo from our Movolo team that they just went out and did a repair, and they were coming back, and it was like rainy season. And so there was a puddle of water, and there was a woman collecting water. And this is like what she's going to eat and drink with. And it's covered. I mean, it's just dirt water, really.
Yeah. Just off the road.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times we can think just like, oh, how awful. Like, why would you do that? But it's also like, that's all the water that they have. Like, what, you know, what else do you expect if that's what you have? Yeah.
And I remember a story from when I was living in Tanj, and we were preparing for the next drilling campaign where we'd be, drilling 10 to 15 wells in the area. And some of our staff were going around and they were doing surveys and collecting requests from different communities. And one of the communities our guys went to, and he came back and he brought back with him this bottle, this clear plastic bottle of water that the community had given him as kind of a testimony or a proof of their situation. And the bottle of water was just the color of clay. It was very gross.
Yeah.
And even our South Sudanese team in Tanj, they didn't believe it. They're like, no way. They're not actually drinking that water. That's not manageable. How could they be? So even the South Sudanese were shocked to see like that a community would be drinking water of that quality.
Wow.
And they thought maybe they just like made this up and gave it to our guy, and they're trying to like improve their chances of getting a water well by seeming desperate. So we did a fact check, and we sent another one of our team members who, he wasn't a part of the water. He didn't have any like Every Village logos on, and we sent him to basically act as a traveler and stop by one of this community's households, which is very common. People moving around stop by a house and ask, can I rest? Can I have some water? And so we sent him there to ask for, just hospitality, basically, to see what they would give him. And sure enough, they said, "I'm sorry, but we don't have any really water that most people would want to drink. Here's what we have."
Wow.
And so they really were.
Yeah.
And so and that's true today.
Mm-hmm.
You're still finding those situations, and so it just is a reminder that even though drilling is really expensive, it's also really important. There's a dire need.
That's so good. When is, like, in a year, when is drilling season?
Yes, drilling season corresponds ideally with the rainy and dry seasons, and we would hope to drill exclusively in the dry season if we can, which is typically from December to May, I would say, is the ideal drilling season. And you want to do it at that time, one, because logistically it's easier. When it starts raining, the roads get really muddy and some places just become inaccessible. And two, you want to do it because that's when the water table is the lowest. And so you're drilling when the water table is at its lowest point, and so you can know that where you set the pump that pushes the water out of the ground isn't going to run dry. Whereas if you did it in the rainy season, that water table is going to be quite higher, and so there's a chance that wherever you set the pump, the water table might drop below the pump during the dry season.
Genius.
Yeah.
Never would have thought that.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought of like mud and puddles. That's great.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, do you have any other fun facts you want to share?
Yeah, I guess the last thing, as it relates to every village, in terms of the need, we have estimated how many more water wells, even within the areas that we're currently serving. This is including Nasser, Upper Nile. And so we made a calculation based off of the population and how many existing boreholes that we know of are in the areas. And we came out with that there's still a need for about 3,000 more water wells just in our ministry areas in South Sudan, whether it's because of overcrowding of existing water wells or just not having any access at all to an improved water source. There's still a huge need.
Wow, yeah. That's what I think of, because I can like envision the map in my head. So if you're listening, go onto our website and you can see where our areas that we work in. And so you see this little circle, and that's really where we're reaching. And that's why there's such a need for us to even grow. As we talked about on our last episode about our Beyond campaign, the reason why we're called to reach more of South Sudan is that there's more people that need Jesus and they need water. And yeah, that's what we get to help them with. Yeah. Well, this is so great. I enjoyed it.
Yes. Me too. Always enjoy it. You should ask me on more, really.
I should, yes. I know, I was like, you've only been on one. He's like, oh no, I've been on another one. Sorry about that. You're such a great co-host.
Oh, thank you.
I forgot how many times you've been on. But that means we will have to get you on again. So I really enjoy it because I think it's fun. I mean, Andrew, I think, brings his own flavor of his brain and what he has in it. But I think it's so fun also to talk about the technical side and also the need of the South Sudanese. So thank you so much, Brad.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, so we invite everyone back to the next episode as we answer, how do we honor the South Sudanese through media? Take care.